Hey, this is Match once again. What about the video? There's another paid request, this time for Tomas. Sorry about the lateness of it, man. It took me a bit to find this one, because this is a film I had never heard of called Vampires vs. the Bronx. And it was a Netflix film. I don't have Netflix, so I have to find another way to watch it. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, reviews, topics, commentaries, video game playthroughs, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both things are down below in the info box. And this is for, like I said, Vampires vs. the Bronx, which I had never heard of. I didn't know what this film was. And I will say the movie, wasn't too bad. It was a one-time watch. I would never see the film again. I didn't mind the acting in the film. The three kids, I thought they were the best part of it. One was named Miguel, one was named Bobby, and one was named Luis, I believe. Pretty much as the title dictates, it takes place in the Bronx, and these people are, some of their businesses are being sold to this guy. I recognize the guy. He was the dad in Death Note. He's been in quite a few other films. I think he was Ryan Gosling's dad in The Gray Man. He's popped up from time to time in recent years. He's a real estate guy in this, and when people are selling their stuff and selling their businesses, a lot of times they also disappear because the vampires will take them. So vampires are with this real estate guy to take more and more of these businesses out. It's trying to be a big take on gentrification, the Bronx being sold piece by piece. Our lead kid Miguel, he's trying to get this block party done to save his buddy Tony's store, which him and his friends hang out at quite a bit. And he's sending flyers. And let's say he has two friends. One is Bobby, whose dad had been killed. You get the idea that his dad was a game banger, and his mom's very worried that the son will follow the same footsteps. He's been kicked out of school. And then the other kid, Luis, he's the younger of the group. He's a bit more of the nerd, geek of the group. And someone even calls him a Puerto Rican Harry Potter. I thought the three kids, I liked their acting. I liked their rapport with each other. I thought they had some good chemistry. I bought them as friends, is what I'm getting at. And the look of the film isn't too bad. It's a Netflix movie. For the most part, their movies have a pretty decent cinematography look to them. Like there's at least a little bit of a budget behind it. At least compared to the other vampire film I saw recently, which was Bram Stoker's Van Helsing, which I'll get to that soon. That one looked like it cost $3. This one looked like it cost a bit more than that. And it's a short film too. It's only an hour and 20 some minutes. Now for the most part, the plot, pretty simplistic. The lead kid finds out there's vampires. People don't believe him. Ultimately his two buddies believe him. The parents don't believe him. They have to figure out what to do. Ultimately there's a bit where they gear up. They try to go into the nest. Then by the end, a bit more of the neighborhood are joining in. There's not a lot of action. There's not a lot of gore. So you're expecting that. You don't be very disappointed. I did definitely say I enjoyed Day Shift, the other Netflix vampire film I'm thinking of with Jamie Foxx, a lot more than this. There's some decent bits of humor. I like the fact that the three kids, one of their ways to study vampirism is watching Blade with Wesley Snipes. I do like that because I love Blade and Blade 2. They should watch Blade 2 as well. Well, actually, Blade 2 had the Reaper, so more so vampires, But I love Blade, so I thought that was a nice touch. The vampires, they seem very Eurotrash. I like the idea that at one point they bite someone. As they're biting someone, they levitate. Both of them levitate. That was a pretty decent effect, like the way they did that. I don't know if it was wire work or how they did, but there's not a whole lot of like bad, awful CGI. There's some okay CGI. There's not a lot of vampires that get killed in the movie. There's probably 5 at most. And that's one of the things where I'm not minding the 3 kids. They're acting, their characters. They're not annoying. They're not irritating. They're not saying. I mean, hell, they're more likable than the fucking Ninja Turtles in that new Mutant Mayhem movie. These kids were more likable. And that helped a long way in not minding the film. But it's one of those things where what I didn't like about it is not subtle on its message. It is not subtle in what it's trying to say. You know, not just gentrification, but you have a white vampire and all the white people are bad in this movie. All the white people. So it's one of those movies. And there's a bit where the vampire grabs this game banger named Slim, and he's like, "We'll wipe you out. We'll wipe you out like the vermin you are." So even vampires are racist, I guess. Because all the vampires are white. All the people they kill are black. Or Latino and black. Even the one girl you think is nice, but you could pretty easily figure out, no, there's something more to her. And lo and behold, she's the head vampire. And again, well, they're not, the cops don't come from, why, because he's a Dean Bear? No, because he's from the Bronx. I get what they're doing. I'm not saying there's none of that in the Bronx. I'm not that stupid. I may be stupid. I'm not that stupid. So I get it, but it's about as subtle as a sledgehammer to the face. And when you see that over and over again, it's kind of like, okay, I did it. Can you move on a bit? You know? I did it. I'm white. I'm a piece of shit. I'm white. I'm a piece of shit. Did you go past that, please? Kind of tired of hearing that shit, to be honest. It's one of those things that it doesn't really have a whole lot of other creativity to it that you haven't seen in a bunch of other vampire films. Like, there are times it reminds me to have a lesser version of The Lost Boys. You have 3 kids, just like you had 3 kids in Lost Boys, and they're like getting the holy water, just like the Frog Bros were getting the holy water in the Lost Boys. And when they enter the nest and they're hanging upside down like bats, just like Kiefer Sutherland and his group were hanging upside down like bats. And one of them goes up and states the person, just like Corey Feldman did in the Lost Boys. So maybe that's just their big ode to Lost Boys, but it just made me think of that movie. And so it just, this seems like a very, very similar situation. Also, they build up this thing like, oh my god, there's all these coffins. So that means there's like 156 vampires. They only deal with 5. They don't deal with 150. It's only 5. So, I don't know what... maybe that's the idea, is that there's all these coffins and they're building up to that. That eventually it'll be that. Well, then just made me go, why are they killing these people? Well, how about some of them they turn and use against... Like, okay, if they want... If the vampires want this block to be bought, why don't you take some of the people, turn them into vampires, and go, okay, you're part of this neighborhood, you know this neighborhood, get them to sell us our stuff. Like, get them to sell. You could help more than me, because you know these people. Try to get them to sell. You may be a better ally for us. I guess that never got into the equation. I don't know. And so, like, a good chunk of the first half is the build up. The lead kid notices when Daneburner Slim gets killed, sees it, tells the other kids. And yeah, of course, they don't believe him at first. Ultimately, they do. They watch Blade. Uh, the three go to this courthouse. They're able to get this USB drive. They're able to find some information about these coffins. The parents ain't worth shit. The cops ain't worth shit. Of course, they're not. The white, nice lady happens to be the head vampire. Spoiler alert. Kills the stoner Tony. You try to get a little friction with the kids because the lead kid Miguel and the one kid Bobby, there's a little bit of friction. But that doesn't really lead anywhere. It doesn't really last that long. Lasts at most 5 minutes. They did some holy water. They meet a girl who just happens to believe in vampires because, as she puts it, she's Haitian, and my mom and my family's been gearing up for something like this for a while. And then I don't know if they were supposed to make it seem like maybe her and the lead kid are gonna fall in love or not. Does really nothing comes of that. And the fact that this character kind of comes in almost like 2/3 of the movie in, it's like, who the hell are you? Who the hell is this person? And so, other than not minding the location, they do a nice enough job showcasing the Bronx, showcasing the neighborhood, showcasing the area. To at least location wise make it feel maybe a bit different compared to other vampire movies. And the three kids, like I said, you do buy that they liked each other, that they're friends with each other, that they're easy to root for. This is not a bad looking movie. But just there's not a lot of action. There's, like I said, not a lot of gore, not a lot of excitement. The one creativity thing I liked was holy water will bubble when they get near the vampires. Although they fuck up a bit. But I like the idea that holy water will bubble. Like it's like a vampire detector. I haven't seen that before. I like that idea. So I wish there were more of those clever ideas in it. And I say they fuck up because they're trying to look for the nest, and one of them's holding, and when it gets near it, it explodes. Well, if that's the case, wouldn't all of their other water balloons explode that have holy water? Instead, no, it's fine, and they throw it and they hit the vampires in the face. But I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. You find the nest where the five are upside down, like Kiefer and his buddies in Lost Boys. If one exploded in your hand, how come the others in your bag didn't explode? I don't think they thought that through. But whatever. It is what it is. You two feel free to explain it to me. This exploded, but we can't have these explode because it's not in the movie yet. Like, we need them later for the plot. And even then, it's like, okay, oh, this 150 vamp. Nope, it's only 5. And again, Miguel kills one. Then they come down and Bobby kills another. So that's 2 down, 3 to go. Luis throws a wafer in a vampire's mouth. So there's 2 left. The little kid Luis gets another vampire. Broke his skateboard, impales the vampire. There's just not a lot of gusto and energy and just not a lot of creativity. Like, you think of the ending of The Lost Boys, for example. You have the great death scene where the vampires being melted and practical effects in the bathtub. The death by stereo. Vampire versus vampire fight. There's really not much to that in this. Or even the original Fright Night. The vampire, Jerry Danders turned to this big bat, and this one is a wolf, and it just, they didn't do a whole lot with the vampire stuff. And the fact they all look like Eurotrash guys ready to work for Hans Gruber. And some things are a bit convenient. Like when we find out that the white lady is a vampire because she can't come in to their home, the other kids notice it. Now the lead kid's mom is saying this is ridiculous, this is stupid. And then for some reason the white lady just drops the facade and goes, "Yep, I'm a head vampire. I'm a commander of this army. Let me show you my fangs." I'm like, why are you giving yourself away to the mom? The mom doesn't believe in her kids. Just go along with it. Lie. Say, I came from a family. I'm very respectful. I don't come in someone's home unless they want me to. It's how I was raised. It's just really dumb that she just drops her facade. And now the parent believes in the kid. That's all you did was make the parent now believe in the kid's what's happening. And I guess, and at the end, when the kids are sleeping and it's the one vampire left, and now you have the whole neighborhood ready to fight, that felt like it came out of nowhere. Like, where did all these people come from? Like, there's Bobby's mom, and there's Medel's mom, and there's the preacher guy. How did they all get there? Who told them? Are we supposed to think that, I guess, the mom of Medel told them? But why would they believe it? Believe it enough to go into the streets with all these weapons? Like, if there's some kind of proof or some kind of thing that they're able to show, it just seemed like it came out of nowhere. And even then, they didn't really do much. Except get thrown about. And then, spoiler alert, the lead kid is on a bicycle. He's got the Stone or Tony's Sammy Sosa bat. Because that was a bit of the conversation between the two. It's broken, lunges, impales the vampire. Vampires are dead. Weeks later, there's a block party. Everything's fine. The movie's over. The end. So it's not a bad film. The three leads do a good job. They're likable kids. I like the Blade reference. I like the idea of the holy water bubbling. So there's some fun bits in there. The vampire action is rather lackluster if you've seen enough of these movies. I get the gentrification stuff, but the ongoing white people are bad. It just, I don't know. Like when they saw the white girl, they immediately go, "She don't call the cops. You can't trust white people." And then find out they were right. You can't trust us. Can't trust me. It got overbearing. It got really annoying. It kind of turned me off of the movie for a bit. Like the people under the stairs. I thought they did that much better. I thought they did that much better where you have Fool, you have the two white people and the rich versus the poor. But you also have Ving Rhames, and you got the other guy who's white, and they go in, and then you have the couple's daughter who becomes allies with Fool, Brandon Adams' character, and then you got Roach, and it's folks working together, not because of skin color, but because it's just white, black, whatever. We're just working to survive these evil fucks. And the way that worked and the way they put into it, I thought Wes Craven handled that material much better, much more smarter. I don't know if I call the film subtle, but more subtle than this. And just much more of a satisfying and creative venture, the people under the stairs. It wasn't vampires, but still. So this... I don't think it was as funny as some reviewers thought it was. I wouldn't say I laughed a whole lot during the movie. I mean, I thought a movie that came out on Netflix, they cloned Tyrone. I thought that was a bit more interesting, a bit more clever. There's another Netflix movie that also got into the whole white people are bad. But that seemed like a bit more interesting compared to this, story wise and writing wise. So I would say I like that movie a bit more than this, but it's one of those things that I don't know. It was worth a watch. If you, it's October. If you love vampire movies, you haven't seen this one, give it a watch. It's short enough. I would never watch it again though. It's just I would just go rewatch Blade 2, Lost Boys, the original Fright Night Part 2, among others. From Dusk Till Dawn. But with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye bye.